Thank you guys for being here. Obviously, today was our sixth practice, but our first scrimmage, and it was a true test to see, hey, let's put the ball down and play base football. Ball was at the 25 most of the time, and just let's go play the length of the field and see what happens. You know, if it was a situation where it was 2 yards or less to go based off of analytics, we kind of played that, but just went out there, played football, kicked field goals, and extra points were needed. But at the end of the day, the best thing I liked was there was a great competitive spirit amongst the guys. I mean, they went out there and they battled. Even their attitude coming in this morning, with us being mostly afternoon practices so far this spring, they came in. Guys are a little bit sore and just said, hey, let's go. We put the ball down and played. And a lot of good things and so many teachable moments. You know, other than base football, we did two-minute situations. But when it was all said and done, we did about 95 plays out there, recycling between the ones, the twos, the threes, the fours, whatever we could. And I was just pleased. I thought the effort was there. There's so much to learn from, so much to grow from, but a lot of good tape out there. And the best thing, I was just pleased with their attitude and their effort, the way they went and attacked this thing. Had some officials there, some SEC officials. So it was good to get some live look with having a full crew out there, relatively clean. When it was all said and done, but I like the direction we're heading in. We just got to continue to make progress every single day.
Did you, with the quarterbacks, did you rotate both guys with the ones, or did one guy stay with the one? How did that work out today?
The rotation again, yep, for sure. So that's kind of how we did it, which I thought was, as you know, kind of like we've done. I know some of the practices you'll come out and say, hey, this guy's getting the one. But with those scrimmages, I think you do it to the best of your ability. Hey, who's getting this guy will get with the ones, and this guy will get with the twos. And then you may turn back around and you go back out there with the ones, or depending on how that series went. But KJ and AJ got the majority of the reps with the ones and twos. Again, it was a coin toss, really based off of who may have gotten the last reps. You know, when it's all said and done, at the spring game, they're going to be on separate teams most likely. And go out there. So they're, just continue that battle.
So I don't know what the win was for you today. Maybe not as bad as Tuesday and Thursday, but you're probably not used to such windy practices as you've had this week. Huh?
Well, our sports information director, Kyle, asked if we could go indoors because it was too windy for him. So with all the rain, we went inside. I was hoping we could be out in the stadium. But, yeah, so we went indoors, which gets constricted, but we got beautiful indoors, so we were able to get a lot of no wind in there today, maybe a south-southwest 1 mile per hour wind coming from Barn Hill Drive. But other than that, no, we have had some windy practices. Yeah. And I think, listen, you got to prepare for the elements. You can't have any excuse. I don't care if it's 104 degrees or 4 degrees and a lot of wind, right? I mean, the reality of it, we get all 4 seasons here, and we hope we're playing deep football. So the opportunity to go out there, regardless, we don't allow excuses or explanations. Just go out there. Today, 72 degrees with that 1 mile per hour wind. They figured it out.
You were in the stadium?
No, sir.
On practice fields?
No, in the indoor.
Oh, you were in the indoor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought I misunderstood what you were saying.
I'm sorry.
Okay. So you mentioned 95 plays. Was it ones versus ones, ones versus twos? How was that set?
Yeah, the whole time. Ones versus ones, twos versus twos. Now, if there was an injury or something, like a 2 would go with a 1, a 3 would go with a 2, and then sometimes you'd say, hey, who had 3s and 4s? So that was our best, just good on good. Go play ball. And, trade the whole time as, hey, ball's at the 25 left hash, ball's at the 25 right hash, and just go. And like I said, once we got towards the 50, hey, 2 yards or less would be a go, playing some of that game. And then the only other situation we did was a 2-minute situation. I believe it was a minute 31, 1 timeout, and offense was down 2. Earlier in the week, we had done another 2-minute situation where the offense was down 5. And so we don't necessarily have the hurry-up field goal, but just putting that in there. And on one of those situations, actually pretty unique, a great thing to teach off of. Big explosive play, get tackled literally at the 1-yard line, 12 seconds left. All right, the question is, with the first down, do you burn the timeout there? Right? This is great communication for us to talk about as a coaching staff, for me, for our players. Do you hurry up and run a tempo run? Do you run a pass, right? Snap that ball with 11 seconds, and then you have that timeout if you need to run the ball? Do you kick do you let the clock run and then kick it from that weird angle? The ball's on the 6-inch line, down 2. Do you go for or if you're down 3, depending to tie? All those things. I think that's all interesting as you go for it. But some great teachable situational things. But it was good. Again, a lot of base football. Go out there. We're really on both sides of the ball, 4 installs in, even though it's our 6th practice. And so getting to see who can actually go out there and tackle and block and make some catches and throws.
You mentioned a couple of scenarios. Were there like very dedicated scenarios, like aside from the 2-minute time? Was it
Not
third
today.
down?
Yeah,
work,
not
or-
today. Today was just strictly, hey, ball's first and P and 10, let's go play ball. And so what we've implemented in practice this week was, you guys, I don't know how much of that y'all got to see prior, was like we started introducing some red zone, then low red zone. We did a series of backed up, right? Ball was on our own 2-yard line. We did some 2-minute situations. So we'll continue to implement situational football throughout spring. You know, I've kind of got a library of, hey, making sure we're touching base on this stuff. And some of it, you know, it can be so nuanced that you just say, hey, this may be something worth talking about during OTAs or training camp, but we're going to get as much situational football, third down work, skelly, you know, red zone stuff as we can throughout spring ball.
And how would you assess the quarterbacks? How did they do today?
Yeah, I think KJ and AJ had good days. I really do. I think they went out there, and the biggest thing you want to see in the first scrimmage, again, right, there's been some rotation of receivers, some linemen here or there, but just going out and, okay, who can take command of the offense and who can play efficient football? I told you guys in one of my first press conferences, right, like you want quarterbacks that are efficient, and that means taking care of the football, putting the offense in the best situation. Maybe that's a check play to the other side. Maybe that's a fixing the protection or taking the checkdowns when it's there. I thought they both executed at a high level. Statistically, you know, I don't go into that sitting here just coming off the field, but I thought they both did some really nice things. I can't sit here and say, hey, one really outperformed the other. I'm just pleased with the way they both went out there and took command.
Based off what Kyle said, just told us, you know, Charlie and Jamonte both having a sack. How important is it, that position, to be able to rush the passer, you know, opposite Quincy? And what are you seeing from those guys right now?
Yeah, I think it's huge. That's that jack position we talked about when we talked about how did you want to base this defense. And I think the ability to get after the quarterback at that position is huge, right? We know Quincy Rhodes has great pass rush ability, and we're going to continue to talk to Quincy about, you know, continue to be better at that and being great versus the run. But that jack position, right, we don't want them just to be pass rushers, but it's nice to be able to see, right, the ability to bend the edge, do different variety of pass rush moves. It's huge, right, because we know you have to be able to affect the quarterback in here. And if you can get there without having to blitz, if it's a 4-man rush, you give yourself a better opportunity in the back end, as we well know, right? You don't want to have to, hey, we got to pressure every time in order to get pressure on the quarterback, especially if you have one guy that can get it. Now, do they have to slide the back over there? Does the protection go that way? Or what does that ultimately end up looking like?
How are health-wise coming out of today? And also, I think, you know, we maybe noticed Kavion and Bryant not practicing on Thursday. What's their status right now?
Sure. Let me start with Kavion. Kavion's sick, illness, so I'm no HIPAA violation there. Just he should be back. We're hoping on Tuesday, and then Bryant should be a lower leg deal that shouldn't keep him out too much longer. It's not a long-term injury. But he's played a lot of football. We got good faith that he'll be okay. And we have some other guys. We had another guy this morning that, you know, late through the night was ill, that wasn't able to go out there. But for the most part, you know, we've got some dislocated fingers from that. We're teaching guys to use their hands and battle through there. But as of off the top of my head, I don't notice any long-term injuries.
I guess it sounded like not too many turnovers for the offense today. I think he mentioned one interception. I mean, how good is that to see the first scrimmage? You know, you mentioned it, the quarterback's taking care of the ball carriers as well. But on the flip side, that means the defense isn't, you know, how do you balance that as a coach, maybe, you know, assessing that?
Well, listen, I think the positive is taking care of the football, right? As an offense, if you can go out there and execute and play relatively clean penalty football and take care of the football and execute. The offense had some explosive plays. And you're right, the defense got that one takeaway in the 95. But now those sacks could have been sack fumbles, right? You know, we're blowing the whistle quick on those. And then I think another thing to be said, and I compliment the defense on this, is like, you know, I don't get caught up in yards given up. I mean, literally defending every blade of glass. Or some of those, hey, they got them all the way down to a 4th and 2, and we said go for it, and the ball was on the 20-yard line, and the defense got to stop. There were some of these, you know, turnover on downs, and to me, those are just as critical as taking the football away, right? If you prevent the punt or stopping them, I mean, like I said, the defense had the goal line stop, which is huge, and so the ability to win the game on those things in the 2-minute situations. So I was pleased with that because I think the defense went out there and they just flew around. You got to see them play with a pulse and the energy that they went out there and did some things with. Was it perfect? No. Was the offense perfect? Heck no. even the specialists, right? There's a lot to be determined, but yeah, you want to get takeaways. But I'm quite pleased that the offense was relatively smart with football today.
Sounded like some highlights for Ismail Cece today. Just what have you seen from him so far? He's a guy we haven't gotten to see a lot of with the injury, but what made you want to keep him around, and what have you liked about what he's done so far?
Well, obviously he missed all last year with the wrist injury, and so I went back and I remember watching his film from Stanford. My previous stop, I watched his film, and I always, man, this kid's productive. And the word, as a wide receiver, he was consistent. He's not the tallest, he's not the fastest, but man, he's a fantastic route runner. He's smart, he can block, and he's consistent. And I think what's happened is now we're getting to see him because he's a year off due to injury. Now you're getting to see what does he look like day after day, and I think we're seeing a really consistent wide receiver, somebody they're going to rely a lot on. And I think all the quarterbacks know when you have a reliable receiver, doesn't matter how fast they are, or how they do, how big they are. If they can go out there and the ball's thrown at them, they're going to catch it and get the yardage. You're usually looking for them, right? It's nice to have the 6'4" guy. It's nice to have the 4'2" guy. But man, if a guy can go out there and be reliable as a wide receiver, I've been very, very pleased with his growth, and I think he's enjoying being a part of this, like getting back into it and getting to the groove. We've been quite pleased with him.
Kyle read us the field goal stats. We haven't watched those guys just with the way practice is set up, but how do you and the special team staff feel about the field goal guys specifically, and then also just some of those other specialists?
Yeah, so we're currently on the roster. We have 3 kickers. Max was the one I was talking about. Was out today with Max Gilbert was out today with illness. Braden McAllister's a name you guys know that we bought in. That was a transfer from Georgia State. He's got a strong leg. And then, special teams, most of the special teams we've done, believe it or not, has been punt team. Like a lot of it, right? We introduce field goal and do some of those things, and that's important, but mostly as a full unit. We've done a ton of punt stuff, and Gavin Rush has done a great job. We brought in Adam Johnston as a long snapper transfer from Sac State, who's done a great job. More of that's op times, and it's our job to get the techniques. But the specialists, I've been pleased with them. Obviously, it's a little bit different, right? Whether you're kicking in the indoor or out there during a deal, what's going to look like when hopefully we get into the stadium next Saturday and kind of get more into the elements of it.
We've seen you run around all over practices. You told us that's kind of how you like to do it. Is the scrimmage any different? Like, where are you and what are you doing when the team's scrimmaging?
So scrimmages are very similar to almost like a game day for me. My job during the scrimmage is make sure it's all organized, because I'll go on the headset and it doesn't matter what the script says. It may say, hey, 1s, then 2s, then 3s, then what? Hey, let's get the 2s back up. Let's go. I want the 1 field goal unit out there. And so it's just constant communication. I'm actually very calm during the scrimmage. And on game day, like I told you guys in the prior to us going out the tunnel, my head's spinning, we're going crazy, all those things. But as soon as we get settled on the sideline, that doesn't mean I don't coach with passion and energy and emotion, but I'm best when I can think neutrally. And I think when I can be calm, cool, and collected there. Now, things occur, obviously, and you have conversations, but I kind of step back, and I'm almost by the head ref during most of the scrimmages, having that communication as well, making sure we're all on the same page. And it's managing the scrimmage, and no different than a game, right? It's my job to be the game manager during the game, make sure we're where we need to be with timeouts, what's that look like. If I have a suggestion on play calling, special teams, you're going to find that's very similar on those Saturday scrimmages as well.